Welcome to TV Africa News. Thank you so much for joining us. This is Africa Today. My name is Nahaba Kajura, but first are the headlines. Court of Appeal, 279 civil cases in 1 month. NUP calls upon Ugandans to reject the removal of bail for capital offenders. And slow return of Africa's looted artifacts. In our sports today, Super Onyango guides Mamelodi Sundowns to victory with 5 post-match penalty saves. Once again, thank you so much for joining us. We start with one of our top stories. Now, the Court of Appeal is set to handle 79 civil appeals in 2 sessions, which are scheduled to take place in Kampala starting today, November 1st, 2021, and will last for 1 month. We have more on this report.
Justices including Frederick Martin Egonda Ntende, Muzamiru Chibedi and Christopher Garishabake will preside over 1 session, whereas another panel of 3 comprising of Justice Elizabeth Musoke, Catherine Bamgemerire and Stephen Musota will handle the other session. The court's registrar Susan Kanyange explained that 39 cases are course-listed for Justice Egonda Ntende-led panel and 40 appeals for Justice Elizabeth Musoke-led panel. Among the cases course-listed is that of Advocate Paul Wanyoto Mugoya, who is seeking remedies from Sergeant Omar Joshua and another over derogable rights. In another appeal, Justice Anup Singh Kodri wants the court to intervene in the matter against National Water and Sewerage Corporation over negligence. The court registrar says these sessions are part of the court's plan on dealing with backlog as well as delivering timely justice. She disclosed that in the months of August and September, the court completed and delivered judgments in 171 matters.
Moving on, the National Unity Platform has called upon the general public to reject the law that seeks to curtail freedoms and take away the discretion of judicial officers to grant or deny bail. Now, this follows cabinet decision to consent to the removal of bail for people on capital offences. Our reporter has more.
Addressing journalists at their party headquarters in Kamwocha, the party spokesperson Joel Senyonyi said government should rather put emphasis on investigations instead of denying suspects bail.
So, tugamba bannayuganda ensonga eno tweyongere ogisibire kuli kubira omubaka wo omuteke ku pressure omugambe nti ssebo nyabo ensonga eno nkulu tetwagala mujjewo akakalu ka kooti ku misango egimu. Ffe nga NUP tugamba nti ekizibu actually tekiri ku kakalu ka kooti. Tuongeze amaanyi mu kunoonyereza.
This follows the continued detention of their own Machinde West Member of Parliament Alan Sewanyana and his Kawempe North counterpart Muhammad Segirinya, who are on trial for the recent spate of murder in Masaka. NUP does not also agree with the Deputy Speaker of Parliament's directive to deny Ugandans who are not vaccinated access to Parliament, but rather advises government to avail enough vaccines for all Ugandans to get vaccinated.
So that's our concern, that once we let it happen with Parliament, a precedent will have been set. And so you're going to hear everybody else saying the same thing. If you're not vaccinated, don't come to our offices, don't come to government hospitals, don't come to government offices to access services and so on. And that is not only illegal, it is unfair because you are judging these people wrongly. They are not even refusing to be vaccinated. They want to, but where are the vaccines? So that's what we intend to engage with the Speaker tomorrow on the floor of Parliament.
Senyonyi promised to engage the Speaker of Parliament on this matter on the floor of Parliament.
Well, thank you so much, our reporter. Moving on, National Council for Traditional Healers Association embraces new alternative in traditional implementary medicine bill during regional coordinators meeting. Our reporter has more.
In an interview with TV Africa, Professor Abdul Karim Musasizi, the Secretary General National Council of Traditional Healers and Herbalist Association, said that the meeting conducted between regional coordinators and the Ministry of Health officials was aimed at opening a start about the new alternative and traditional complementary bill entitled to regulate traditional medical practitioners and showing the public that traditional medicine is now on the base.
Here now today to have a meeting with regional coordinators and different stakeholders, ministries and national government and other related agencies to see that at least we open a start about our law that came out last year, which was assented by His Excellency, which is called Alternative and Complementary Medicine, Traditional Complementary Medicine. So we are here today to show what we are like to showcase, so that everybody can know what we are all about, and to open up the program of showing that the traditional medicine is now on the base.
On the impact of traditional medical practitioners to the public, Professor Msasizi said the industry has contributed a lot through provision of medical services and treatments, as well as job creation, curbing unemployment in the country.
We haven't just initiated some little things because you have contributed a lot, because we are giving out services, we are giving out treatments, at the same time we are giving out jobs, because people are even earning money from these herbal products.
Okay. Now, Professor Msasizi further urged various stakeholders and the public to embrace traditional medicine and assured genuinity, cooperation and better service delivery. TV Africa News, Kachanchu Mtabazi reporting.
Well, thank you so much, reporter. We'll take a quick break. We shall come back with the international news. Welcome back from the break. You're still watching TV Africa, the right to know. In our international news today, a spokesman for Sudan's main opposition coalition, the Forces for Freedom and Change, has criticized the U.S. decision to withhold $700 million in aid to the country, saying Sudan should not be punished for what occurred in the previous regime and the former President Omar al-Bashir. Our reporter has more.
The United States on Monday suspended $700 million in economic aid to Sudan after the country's military forces arrested civilian leaders and officials. The U.S. State Department spokesperson Ned Price said during a press briefing that the United States condemned the actions taken by Sudan's military forces that led to the arrest of Sudanese civilian government officials and other political leaders, including Prime Minister Abdallah Hamdok. He added that in light of those developments, the United States suspended $700 million in emergency assistance appropriations of economic support funds for Sudan. The FFC spokesperson Mubarak Adol demanded at a press briefing on Friday that the country's military forces step down and return power to the civilian transitional government, and also hit back at the U.S. decision to freeze aid to Sudan. On October 25th, the Sudanese army took measures ending the partnership between the military and civilian coalition ruling during the transitional period in Sudan. Meanwhile, General Commander of the Sudanese Armed Forces Abdel Fattah al-Burhan declared a state of emergency across the country and dissolved the Sovereign Council and government. The Forces of Freedom and Change Alliance accused al-Burhan of carrying out a military coup. Since the announcement of foiling a coup attempt on September 21st, the disagreements between the military and civilian partners in the transitional government have continued to escalate.
Away from that, two cheers and a trumpet fanfare, a Cambridge University College on Wednesday handed a bronze statue looted in the 19th century back to Nigerian officials in the first such move by a UK institution.
Sonita Alain, head of Jesus College, gave the elaborately carved cockerel known as Okuko to Nigerian delegation. Okuko was among thousands of African artifacts stolen from the continent during British colonial rule. It was looted along with hundreds of sacred sculptures and carvings, known as the Benin Bronzes, by a punitive British military expedition in the former Kingdom of Benin in southern Nigeria in 1897. Jesus College is the first United Kingdom's institution to hand back a Benin bronze, raising pressure on other establishments, including the British Museum, to follow the suit. Jesus College was given the bronze in 1905 by the father of a student, and more recent students have been campaigning for its restitution. The Benin bronzes are held in collections of numerous British, European and United States museums and institutions. The British Museum, which has the largest collection, has not agreed to return its bronzes. It has long urged that its vast trove of foreign artifacts, such as the Elgin Mabels taken from the Parthenon in Athens, are best housed with explanatory notices in purpose-built premises. Nigerian officials taking part in the ceremony included Ambassador to the United Kingdoms Safaratunji Isola and Prince Egatise Erediaoua, the brother of the historic kingdom's traditional ruler, the Oba of Benin. At the end, they held the cockerel aloft to cheers, applause and a trumpet acclamation.
Moving on, in the Democratic Republic of Congo, the appointment of the electorate chief Denis Kadima has attracted opposition mainly from religious groups and other opposition parties. Now, Congo's Constitutional Court on Tuesday swore in the Electoral Commission chief amid controversy over his nomination. We have more on this report.
The Archbishop of Kinshasa, Cardinal Fridolin Ambango, during his visit to the neighboring Congo-Brazzaville, said that he disagreed with the choice of the head of the Electoral Commission. The new appointment was confirmed by President Felix Tshisekedi, but contested by the Catholic Church and Protestants, who represent, according to Mr. Ambango, more than 90% of the population of the Democratic Republic of Congo, and blame Mr. Kadima for his closeness to the head of state, who has already expressed his intention to run again. According to political analysts, the appointment of Kadima, who hails from the same province as the president, could strengthen Tshisekedi's hand in the next election, but may also undermine the perception of the poll's integrity and fracture the ruling Sacred Union coalition. Mr. Kadima, 60, was chosen by 6 of the 8 religious denominations. Some coalition partners have joined the opposition and religious groups in accusing Tshisekedi of forcing through Kadima's candidacy. Leaders from the Catholic and Protestant churches, the most respected officials of the Congo's democracy, have accused Tshisekedi of oppressive drift and called supporters to join a demonstration on November 6.
Moving on, the UN Security Council on Friday called on all sides to resume negotiations toward a solution in Western Sahara as it renewed a UN mission in the disputed territory for 1 year. We have more on this report.
The resolution was spearheaded by the United States, which under former President Donald Trump broke with the world to recognize Morocco's claim to the territory as it persuaded the kingdom to normalize relations with Israel. The resolution, which does not recognize Moroccan sovereignty, passed the Security Council with abstentions from Tunisia and Russia. Weeks after the appointment of a new UN envoy on Western Sahara, veteran diplomat Staffan de Mistura, the resolution called for the parties to resume negotiations without preconditions and in good faith in search of a just, lasting and mutually acceptable political solution. The resolution calls for a goal of self-determination of the people of West Sahara, a phrase that diplomats said was added by the United States at the behest of Russia, which could have vetoed the text. The resolution also reaffirms the need for full respect of a ceasefire that collapsed last year. Algeria backs the independence-seeking Polisario Front and in August broke off relations with Morocco, which controls nearly 80% of the arid and sparsely populated territory controlled by Spain until 1975. Roundtable talks were last held in early 2019 that brought together the Polisario and Morocco as well as Algeria. The Polisario sees itself as a liberation movement that should negotiate directly with Rabat, but Rabat considers the Polisario an Algerian proxy. The Polisario's UN envoy Sidi Omal treated that there will be no new ceasefire as long as Morocco persists in its attempt to forcibly impose a colonial feint accomplished in the occupied territories of the Salawi Republic.
Well, thank you so much, Roberta. We take a quick break. We shall come back with the business news. Welcome back from the break. You're still watching TV Africa, the right to know. In a business news today, African governments typically hail the discovery of oil and gas as a blessing, but poor villagers in southern Ivory Coast are among those who say it can also be a curse. We have more on this report.
On the petroleum-rich coastline of Jacqueville, about 100 kilometers from Ivory Coast's economic hub of Abidjan, locals say they have yet to benefit from a decades-old bonanza. Workers are busy setting down a third pipeline, cutting across farms and villages to help bring gas from offshore rigs to power stations. But in the village of Ada, found at the end of a bumpy, dusty road, people say they have yet to see any trickle down from the boom and complain the whole issue is shrouded in secrecy. Fisherman Justin Dagre-Yeso said fishing youths had been hit by the oil and gas development. Ivory Coast is the world's biggest supplier of cocoa, the precursor of chocolate, accounting for 40% of the global market. But it remains just a small producer of oil, pumping out 36,000 barrels per day in 2019 from a field off Jacqueville that is exploited by several foreign majors. In 2018, crude production was worth around 500 billion CFA francs, according to a campaign group called the Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative.
Our from business in Africa Today Health, South Africans mourn their coronavirus dead in many ways, but one of the country's most poignant memories is a simple display of ribbons tied to a church fence in Johannesburg. We have more on this report.
Blue and white ribbons flutter from the fence surrounding St. James Presbyterian Church in the suburb of Bedford Gardens, providing a striking visual reminder of just how many South Africans have died from the virus. Each blue ribbon represents 10 victims and each white ribbon represents 1. The church fence isn't big enough to keep pace, so officials have resorted to tying ribbons on both sides of the railings. Rudizan Makuya, a church caretaker, said that when motorists stop to ask why they were putting up ribbons, they tell them that it's to pay respect to those who have been affected by that worldwide virus. While each death is first and foremost a calamity for family and friends left behind, it often has an economic impact too. Soko Ramtalani from Soweto, who's unemployed and has 3 children, is still mourning her mother who died from the virus 4 months ago and left her struggling financially as a result. South Africa's death toll now stands at more than 89,000, the highest in the whole of Africa.
In our sports news today, Mamelodi Sundowns Football Club won the MTN 8 tournament with a 3-2 post-match penalty victory over Cape Town City at the Moses Mabhida Stadium in Durban on Saturday 30th October 2021. Now, Gangli's goalkeeper Dennis Onyango was the outright man of the match after saving 5 kicks from Cape Town City in a tense, crazy and dramatic shootout. Our reporter has more.
Onyango's penalty saves helped Sundowns win the MTN 8 for the first time since 2017 and their first fine appearance since the 2016 3-0 hammering at the hands of the now defunct Bidvest at the Mbombela Stadium. The game ended 1-1 after extra time after Fagrila K's 57th goal cancelled out Thapelo Morena's 24th minute opener. Having watched his midfielders and forward fluff plenty of chances before Lakay's equalizer, Onyango turned in a penalty-saving performance at the edges. He saved Kanyita Mayo's, Abdul Jalil Ajagun's, Tariq Fialis and Thamthanga Muhikize's spot kick in a stupendous showing. At the very same ground in 2015, Onyango had saved 2 penalties against Kaizer Chiefs in the Telkom Knockout Cup final that Sundowns won 3-1. Onyango dedicated the win and the trophy to the goalkeeping department, Kennedy Mwene, who started that journey, the goalkeeping coach and other goalkeepers.
Well, thank you so much for being a loyal audience from where we started from. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We shall keep updating you. It is TV Africa, the right to know.